So this video right here, just to give a quick recap to anybody who's not fully caught up to speed, is about the whole Turtle WoW lawsuit between Blizzard and Turtle WoW. Turtle WoW is basically a Classic Plus private server, and Blizzard is suing them. And let's see what the update is. Bellular has made one big video on this already, and to be fair, I've been talking about this quite a while as well. So anybody who's been, well, keeping up to my channel, like up to date the last month or so, or 1.5 months, you probably know most about this by now. But I'm quite intrigued, and I will say I've been like paying close attention to it as well, and I think there's been some updates since he made this video, because there was an update literally this morning. Either way, let's click play.
News to talk about. Recently, Turtle WoW made a fairly crazy move. In spite of being under insane legal fire, you know, the RICO Act, they basically stuck their head above the trench and they have sent a shot back. With that being done, the ball is now in Blizzard's court. Now, of course, they didn't fire a legal shot back. They are still an illegal server, and they actually just publicly admitted to that. But that's because their plan is not to win the legal battle. It is to win the public relations battle. Oh, yeah. We are going to get into some spicy quotes in this video, including...
I have read this message, by the way, or the letter by Turtle WoW, and on my second channel I even have a reaction video to that as well, where I, not even just a reaction video, just a full-on Solheim yapping video, where I talk about that letter in detail and give my thoughts on it as well. And my quick TLDR on this is that they are basically admitting that they are doing something they shouldn't hear by publishing that letter, but also it's a massive W for them PR-wise, and they have now basically put the ball in Blizzard's court, right? Up until now, we had no idea if Blizzard was trying to cooperate with Turtle and they kept running away or refusing to. We had no idea what happened behind the curtains. The Turtle team has now opened up those curtains and they have taken a public stance, and they are showing they are willing to work with Blizzard if they just find a way to do so. So now the ball is in Blizzard's court to be like, well, either dismissing that or accepting that. And to be fair, I mean, I think they're just going to keep going with the lawsuit, by the way, because they're already going quite deep in the lawsuit as well.
Ones from current Blizzard leadership. Okay, Turtle posted an open letter, and it sets out their case to become a legal licensed server. In fact, what they're doing is asking Blizzard to consider something way bigger, which is this: an entire framework.
I will say, by the way, and I'm not fully up to speed in the modding community, so anybody who has more knowledge than me, either right now in the stream or in the comments, because I will probably make a reaction video from this as well. So anybody with more knowledge than me, just feel free to educate me if you want to. But GTA, or like Rockstar, basically just partnered with somebody who are running a private server, or like private server-ish, like a modding community, like, is it 5M or NoPixel? I'm not completely sure, but basically they have been partnering now with somebody who is running some sort of private server-ish thing, or modding the game. What is the difference between that and Blizzard doing something with Turtle WoW?
To legalize private servers, and they make a surprisingly good case, until you look carefully, that is. But I'll tell you what they also did. They missed a trick, because we found a quote from Holly Longdale in her past job that they could have used as an
Turtle is making money from it? So you're telling me that 5M did not make a single dollar from what they did at all? Because I kind of find that hard to believe. Maybe I'm being dumb.
Absolute slam dunk. But it seems they didn't do their research. Okay, first, the letter. Now, there is one other thing, and it's more important if you're, say, a Discord user, because Discord got hacked. That's just one of the many stories of data breaches and these security breaches, and even invasive people search sites that are a thing in America. They're too common, and they are why I use today's sponsor, Incogni, because Incogni helps me fight back. You see, whenever data leaks, data brokers harvest it and they sell it on. It's how they earn money. And if you ever wonder how spam callers get your number, it's often that. Now, Incogni solves the problem by automating all the legal work you would otherwise have to do. And if you join at incogni.com/BellularWarcraft, you get 60% off an annual plan. And the way it works is crazy, because you just enter your info and then it works. That's really it. You see, you've got a legal right to have your data taken down, but that means hours of paperwork and it's not permanent. Incogni, once it has your data, automatically scans brokers, sends takedown requests, and adds you to suppression lists. It does that automatically, and it will consistently rescan the brokers to ensure your data is kept down. Just take a look at my dashboard, it's pretty cool. 214 takedowns sent, 1 in progress, 213 completed, and I am on 26 suppression lists, which is pretty damn good peace of mind. And over at incogni.com/BattleYourWarcraft, you'll get 60% off an annual plan, so you can also have that peace of mind. And of course, the easiest way is to just click that link down below. The letter opens with them painting themselves as loving fans and artists. They're pouring their soul into expanding Blizzard's universe. And over 7 years, they say they found out how to add replayability to an MMO world. Now, the first 2 paragraphs are basically an advert for Turtle, but with a very specific point, which is this final line. Mysteries of Azeroth.
I will say, by the way, from an outsider's point of view, or like even just looking at it from a bird's eye point of view, and maybe having some gameplay experience as well, anything that Turtle WoW has made is better when it comes to custom content than anything Blizzard ever made in the classic universe when it comes to custom content. Season of Discovery was cool, but the whole rune system was literally stolen from Project Ascension, and yeah, like, all of the custom content in Turtle is miles and miles better than Nightmare Incursions in Phase 3 Season of Discovery. Like, the Turtle WoW team showcases that they are actually able to make classic content put in classic. Like, actual content and just making updates to classic and keep it vanilla. Meanwhile, the other classic WoW team that makes Season of Discovery and Phase 3, they simply prove that they are retail players pretending to play classic. Putting Nightmare Incursions in Phase 3, they sucked so much, and they were antithetical to everything Classic WoW stands for. It was like you run in a lap, a 3-minute lap, over and over and over again to get to max level, and by doing this, it was the best gold farm in the game, the best experience farm in the game, and even gave you pre-raid best slot items to enter the raid with at max level as well, in that phase, so level 50. It was... yeah, they took the world out of World of Warcraft, which is a huge reason why people go back to Classic. Because we already have an instanced game, it's called Retail, where you don't have to, like, spend tens and tens or hundreds of hours leveling. You can just queue up for something, and that's it, or run in an instance and run laps. There's a reason why we have Retail and we have Classic, attracting 2 different audiences, and 2 different types of gamers, and then we have people like me who enjoy both. But Nightmare Incursions was not it, man.
Quote, feels like a home that always welcomes players back. And what they're doing here is planting an idea for later. Then we get to the next part, and that talks about modding, how it is embedded in gaming's culture, you know, harnessing community passion, all of that stuff. And they really go here. They use the real flowery language, talking about devoted fans, enriching games with diverse perspectives and innovative ideas. And they argue that Blizzard should embrace fan content as a testament to WoW's legacy, instead of alienating them. Now, you'll notice that thus far in the letter, they're being very nice to Blizzard, very much saying, oh guys, your world, oh, it's the best. So, yeah, now that the glazing is done, they're switching gear. So it's time for the actual asks, or, you know, maybe what we would call a shit sandwich. Okay, quote, unfortunately...
Did they fix the infinite knowledge to power bug? According to a comment on my video today, yes. But can I confirm? No.
Fortunately, unlike other studios, is how they begin their next paragraph. They go on to talk about how Blizzard doesn't let these beautiful fan-made testaments to WoW operate without, quote, legal conflict. So they're asking for a licensing framework, and they basically say that all players would be deeply grateful if Blizzard would let Turtle and other servers do their thing legally. Going further though, by doing that, they say it will let Blizzard control the IP, right? Because if there's a licensing framework, then it does get to be on terms that Blizzard would agree to. So basically, they want Blizzard to get their control, but still allow fans to innovate.
I would say that's maybe the wrong way to phrase it. It's not on terms that Blizzard would agree to. It's on Blizzard's terms that Turtle WoW would agree to. Either way, in the end product or the end result is the same. Like, it's not like Turtle WoW is going to be presenting Blizzard with an opportunity here. It's more Blizzard presenting Turtle WoW with an opportunity. And Blizzard says, well, this is what you have to accept, not the other way around.
And have things be above board. And they say this would, quote, enhance the gameplay experience and strengthen the bonds between developers and players. So, all nice cordial stuff, I guess. Now, this whole WoW as a home idea comes back at the end of their letter. That's because, per Turtle's argument, with something like this happening, WoW would remain a true home for everyone who loves it. Now, the genius of this letter's positioning, basically, is that it's hard to argue with, like, many of their points, at least in first glance. Like, Turtle is clearly a really good version of Classic Plus. Like, actually good. This is not me randomly glazing. It's pretty well developed. They've done some smart stuff. Because look, if it wasn't good, it would not be as popular as it is. It essentially ticks all the boxes. It honors Classic's art style, writing, game design, it's updated regularly, the community is mostly clean of the usual bullshit, you know, like botting as an example. People continually say to me they do a good job of taking down bots. And it's also supported by real GMs, something that, you know, real World of Warcraft isn't so much these days. Now, there are just a few issues, though, when we kind of go into the details. Like the small fact that Turtle have continuously poked the bear, right? Like they've actually been overtly aggro to Blizzard's social media. They have been
yeah, like it feels this is like the one downfall that they have, if you ask me. They've been poking the bear, and poking the bear, and then suddenly when the bear bites back, they simply run and hide and beg the bear to stop biting. Meanwhile, they've been poking the bear for years, atting them on Twitter, on social media, on forums, you name it, right? Even videos and such. They've been poking the bear so much. And I'm not sure that really gave them anything. I mean, it was good for the memes, but we can see the result now, like past memes. We can see the results of that now. And I feel like this is like the one, I say like way too much, by the way, but this is one of the reasons why Blizzard is probably just going to ignore this whole letter to begin with, because, well, they've been poking the bear way too much. If they had not poked the bear this much to begin with, the whole scenario could have been something else entirely.
Acting too big for their boots. They've been running paid advertisements. You know, the whole donation store thing. So for them to do all of that and now be sort of licking Blizzard's boots again does make it look like an attempt to get goodwill and to get their way. Which, I mean, it quite obviously is. And as nice as their embellished vision of a cooperative future sounds, there's a lot of these things called facts that really haven't changed. They are still an illegal server hiding from US jurisdiction, and the owners have been accused of all sorts of things, from tax evasion to gold selling to hijacking other private servers to ram cash shops into them. And this basically reads like them trying to cut it.
My thing here is, like, I've been saying a few different stances, right? But what I'm gonna say is, if what is being said is true, the owner behind Turtle WoW is in Russia. For anybody who's keeping up to date with the whole US and Russia thing, and also the extradition thing that Russia has or does not have, in this case with the US, if you live in Russia, you are for the most part pretty damn safe from any legal stuff in the United States, which means this letter might just be a way for Torta or Shenna or whatever you want to call the person behind Turtle WoW to give Blizzard a way to work together. And the other alternative might be, because once again, being in Russia might make you somewhat immune to the whole US legal system thing. The alternative is that Blizzard wins the lawsuit but nothing happens because they can't get the person in charge. And Russia, like, if you try to extradite somebody for WoW, a WoW private server from Russia, they're going to laugh in your face, and whatever papers you serve them is going to be glorified toilet paper. Once again, I know nothing about law, but this is like what I personally think, based on what I'm hearing.
A deal, but doing so while having no real ground to stand on, other than, of course, you and your ability to be displeased at Blizzard. But let's continue with their letter first, because they make some compelling comparisons. Their major argument is precedent, and they point to 8 other...
I will say, by the way, the whole leg to stand on of us and us being displeased with Blizzard is really fucking easy these days, because especially in Classic, in retail we have communications all the time, and I love the retail team because they communicate so much and they listen to feedback. The Classic team is actively not responding to feedback, and they're not communicating. They're doing the polar opposite of what the retail team is actually doing right now, and they're just actively hiding from their own community, not even giving anything back. It's disgusting, and yeah. It is. I don't know what else to say. It's pathetic. and I'm slightly ashamed to have made Classic content. Even though I love Classic, I hate the team at the moment and what they're doing, the way they're handling things. Unless they are somehow being held back from people higher up at Blizzard telling them to actively, like, not say anything, then I can't really hate the team for following their boss's words, but whoever's decision that was to stay silent, not communicate anything at all, is a trash decision. And I really hope they get some sort of, like, repercussions for doing that, because it feels trash. It feels like they're spitting on us, shitting on us, and expecting us to pay them for it. It's like they're shitting in our mouth, and they're expecting payment.
Examples of studios that have found success with community servers or modding. So let's go through those. There's Daybreak, who currently own EverQuest. They struck a deal with Project 1999, an emulated EverQuest server that plays exactly as it did in 1999. Then there's Rockstar. Not always the nicest bunch to modders, but they acquired 5M. And that was a fairly brilliantly engineered platform for basically custom multiplayer GTA 5 servers. And with Rockstar acquiring them, now it's official, and it's gigantic. Truly gigantic. Next, they look at NCSoft. They eventually granted a license to Homecoming. Now, Homecoming is a secret server for City of Heroes that started after the real game was shut down. Now, those are the most comparable examples, but they do bring up other things. As an example, Bethesda's support for Skyrim modding, Valve's open sourcing the Source engine, which led to Counter-Strike and Team Fortress, both of which, by the way, started as community mods. Then they point towards Epic Games, who of course added in creative mode for Fortnite, and they released old Unreal Tournament source code. Then there's Microsoft's handling of Minecraft with servers like, say, Hypixel and Mineplex. All pretty cool stuff. And then finally, there is EA. Yes, the lovely folks at Electronic Arts, who actually did cooperate with Kyber. And Kyber, by the way, is a project that completely revitalized Battlefront 2 servers. So,
I will say, out of all of those examples, by the way, the only ones I've heard about is, I guess, the whole NCSoft thing, and Minecraft, obviously. Fortnite, even though I'm not really sure why they put that in there, because, like, the creative mode is something else entirely. But, yeah. Not really sure why they put that one in there. It's not really private server creation, but it does allow the players to create content, so I guess that's why. Allowing players to develop some content, but I don't think we'll ever see something like that in WoW, and if we do, it's gonna be a mess. But yeah, either way, the Minecraft thing, good example, and also the 5M or no pixel thing, also good example.
These are 8 solid examples of, as they put it, publishers working alongside fan-ran ecosystems.
Okay.
That all sounds great in paper, but, well, we cover gaming news over on our other channel, and that means we're fairly familiar with these examples. And, well, none of them are quite what Turtle claim they are. Who needs details anyway? So let's get rid of the ones that just aren't similar at all. Kyber is a custom server platform for Battlefront 2. Their lead developer was hired by EA as a security consultant, and this happened after finding and disclosing a major vulnerability in their account system. Of course, being part of Kyber almost certainly helped, but EA have actually never said anything publicly about Kyber. I mean, using Kyber does require owning the game, so there's no potential loss to Electronic Arts. There is only gain. Same obviously goes with Skyrim mods and everything else for Bethesda. I mean, there's no cost to Bethesda to let those things exist, and the majority of mods are unpaid. It's basically just Bethesda getting to sell their games for infinity off the back of, you know, loads of mods. It's pretty great for them. Now, obviously, attempts to monetize those mods have, well, often went a little bit funky. Then there's the Valve thing they bring up, which is rather cute because it's about an engine being open sourced and fan projects being unlifted. Well, the problem with Turtle is intellectual property infringement. WoW-like games with a different IP are never truly in the conversation here. It's a bit weird. Then the Fortnite example is, I mean, all in the official Fortnite client. The payment comes as an engagement-based portion of what Epic Games themselves earn, which basically is their entire user-generated content platform, which is a major pillar of their business. Then there's Unreal Tournament 99 source code. Well, yeah, that's source code from an unmaintained and dead game. Irrelevant. Minecraft servers are actually similar though, and that's where things will get interesting. However, they are based on ownership of the game. And, well, the thing that makes the servers different in many ways are the mods. And because Minecraft has never had official servers to begin with, well, Mojang don't really have anything to lose. I suppose this is me talking mostly about PC. There's obviously the likes of Minecraft Realms and other platforms, but you get the point. Now that leaves 3. Let's start with GTA 5 and 5M. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's an unbelievably long story, but using it as a positive example is really not as smart as they think it is. So basically, the original developer found incredible success quickly, and then they hired other people. And this is where they went wrong, because one of the new hires eventually went behind everyone's backs to sell the whole project to Rockstar. And you know, it's Rockstar. They will absolutely play ball with something like that. And the more you learn about this story, the worse it gets, because by doing that, they also doxed all of their contractors, which was, a fairly lovely thing to do. And they handed over all of their financial records, which obviously caused chaos. This resulted in the project owner being bullied into agreeing, and then they basically all just felt really shortchanged. And then infighting actually got that lead developer fired. So, chaos. And after all that chaos, the project is now ran by Rockstar, and it's rapidly degraded without the passion of its old lead. They had something beloved, right? But the process of selling out basically destroyed it in short order. So, yeah, sounds good, and I guess no real fault of Rockstar's either. Tensions are rising and bad apples basically spoiling the bunch for a payout. Next then, NCSoft, City of Heroes. This one was awesome and unprecedented. Homecoming was a secretive private server for the game that started in 2019, and that of course was replacing the official game which died in 2012. Now in January 24, Homecoming's owners revealed something huge, that they had a non-commercial license with NCSoft to run it officially. Again, non-commercial. Now, NCSoft have zero current interest in City of Heroes. They don't give a shit. They're never really gonna use it, or at least they can't see themselves using it. So sure, they're happy to let it run, but they still hold the IP, and Homecoming is free. And
this portion of the video right here is exactly why I wanted to see Bellular's video on this, because I know that he's running a gaming news channel, and he's way more in tune with all the other examples here given than I am. Like I said earlier, I don't know all of the examples. I knew 3 of them, and the other ones I have no idea what those games even are. Because like I play Rocket League, WoW, and a couple of like indie games, right? I don't play everything, and I have no idea about everything happening. But he is more knowledgeable, I guess, about the news happening in all of those games, and he knows way more than I do. So for me, this portion right here is mainly why I wanted to see this video on the topic, and get his point of view on those examples given by Turtle WoW in that letter.
It is supported by donations, like with Turtle, just actual donations. They don't have the whole cash shop thing, because very often in private servers, the donation is, yes, to keep the server running, but it's also, the cash shop, and, well, allegedly, people get very, very, very rich off it indeed. Though there is another similarity between them and Turtle, and it is that they also develop new content for their game. But there's a key difference. It's completely volunteer. You see, as a part of their deal, developers and staff don't receive any compensation. No in-game compensation or otherwise. No money changes hands. So those donations are to meet the server costs, and if people were skimming a bunch of money off that, well, that would be in violation of the agreement. Now, on the other hand, Turtle operates like a standard business.
Yeah.
Just an illegal one. All of their staff are paid, and at least as far as we understand, paid rather handsomely. So the City of Heroes thing is similar on face value, but in reality, it is very...
Didn't the guy that is currently in super big trouble because he's based in the USA say that he never got paid in the suit? That is once again me not knowing. I'm just asking a question based on vague memory.
Very different in ways that completely change how Blizzard would act, which obviously wouldn't be like NCSoft, because Blizzard actually...
You're getting 900k an hour in Suramar? Wait, how? Are you a boomkin?
...uses WoW. Okay, next... It's time for the spice. I know, I've teased you twice about a statement from Holly Longdale. So,
yeah,
let's get to it.
Okay.
EverQuest's Project 1999. If Turtle wanted to make an impression, they really should have led with this statement. Now, you'll know Holly Longdale as the executive producer and vice president of World of Warcraft. But before that, she was an executive producer at Daybreak, and she was responsible for EverQuest. Now, in an interview with PC Gamer around EverQuest's 20th birthday,
This was the first thing I thought about as well when I saw the example of why this wasn't given. I don't play all games, but when it comes to MMOs and such, and also I was there when Holy Longdale started and had like the whole introduction thing, and EverQuest was a big part of that. It was like, I basically, that thing stuck to me, and I basically now associate her with the ex-EverQuest person that is now on WoW.
They brought up EverQuest progression servers, which are basically the same thing as WoW Classic, and they point out that Project 1999 is a different version, like literally exactly the game as it appeared in that year. Now, this was part of her answer. I'm just going to start, just a big old quote, here it is. The Project 1999 guys are not malicious or trying to steal our money, so we just have an agreement in place that they don't launch stuff around the same time we do. Wow. A statement like that from Holly. Come on, Turtle. You could have used that to get people on your side. They could loudly say, look, Holly permitted this, but she didn't permit Turtle. She is a hypocrite. Except for one little tiny small detail. And you probably know what I'm about to say. The little detail is that Project 1999 is non-profit. And in their legal agreement with Daybreak, they're not allowed to make any money. I can't find any reference to volunteering, but a few years back they were accepting specific hardware donations, and in a post about that, a project manager said the donations cover, quote, most costs. That might cover development costs, but I think it's safe to say they're not raking it in. So, none of these are actually applicable to what Turtle is. Turtle WoW is a for-profit World of Warcraft competitor. And of course, with an official Classic Plus very obviously in the works, there is little to zero chance that Blizzard would even respond to all this stuff. I mean, even without getting into the shady stuff behind the curtain, which there's a lot of talk going on about that. Well, basically, Turtle are a direct competitor, and they do solicit cash shop donations. And this means we can put everything together, because what Turtle are obviously trying to do here is drum up support, but they want to do that by painting a totally false picture, because all of those examples are surface-level similarities at best that are materially different, and none of those licenses that like those other developers and companies have anything to do with people making money and profit and paid developers, right? And certainly they're not running advertising campaigns against each other. And ultimately what they do is paint a totally false picture of this type of licensing agreement being normal and to everyone's benefit. It is not normal, and you can see through those examples how it is rather specific. So essentially, it's not nearly as simple as Turtle makes it out to be in their letter, and Blizzard, by agreeing to this, would have a massive amount to lose, and all they would really have to gain is some goodwill. And let's be serious, even if Blizzard did, Microsoft would, not give a toss.
I'm hoping he goes more into what Blizzard has to lose here, or that somebody educates me, or either now in chat or in the comments, because I feel like he says the only thing they have to gain is goodwill. But what I'm seeing is they can gain access to Turtle WoW without doing the whole lawsuit thing, in which case even if they win, the person is in Russia. They might not get access even if they win. So they can literally get Turtle WoW on their side, they get some really passionate developers on their side that has proven time and time again that they are way better than the current Classic WoW developers at developing things in the game that makes sense and that people respond positively to. So they get really passionate developers that are once again passionate about the game, and not just making money from the game and putting WoW tokens in the game, putting like cash shop mechanics in the game. They're passionate about the game because they're gamers. That is one thing they gain. The other thing they would gain, if they are somehow doing this but also opening up to more projects, is they are now allowing players to be the developers, and they can, for example, not have them on a base salary, and they can allow these private servers that are now part of Blizzard, so like Blizzard custom servers or something, they can now accept
Solheim
donations.
Was right.
Also, thank you for the follow, by the way. They can now accept donations, and Blizzard can take 50%, and the developers can take 50%. At which point, it's free development work by Blizzard. They can fire all of their Classic WoW developers and still have developers, because players are now unpaid developers. And once again, based on what we are seeing, developers that people are liking very much, because they are once again passionate about the game. I don't know. Blizzard seems to be a huge fan of firing people anyway, right? No Q&A testers, no customer support these days, just AIs and bots, and yeah, no game masters. They're a huge fan of firing people, so I'm just saying.
About goodwill. So, what's going to happen? Here's the frustrating reality. If Blizzard said yes, it would almost definitely be under similar circumstances to the other examples that I've listed here. Now, that would mean the Turtle WoW would not be Turtle WoW. There is zero chance that Blizzard would allow this to exist and be a free-to-play thing that people could easily go and do. Because then that would be a direct competitor with World of Warcraft. That would be free. So what would have to happen is that private servers would need to turn into public servers, and they would need to exist under a World of Warcraft sub. And I don't need to tell you how much damage that would do to all of them. I mean, if developers got paid at all, it would have to be an absolute pittance from Blizzard's perspective. Even if Blizzard miraculously did allow arguably non-competing servers to run for free, like say Ascension, they wouldn't just let the devs rake in loads of money. Just like NCSoft and Daybreak, it would all have to be...
Yo, if they're going after servers for making money, it's really interesting that they have now chosen to go in a lawsuit versus Turtle WoW, but are leaving Ascension behind. I'm just saying, if they're going after servers for making money, Ascension is known publicly by every player in the world to be the most cash shop heavy server in the game, or like in the private server game. This is the place that is known for trying to like milk you from cash. Meanwhile, they're leaving that alone and going for Turtle.
On a volunteer basis. A corporation like Microsoft could never agree to anything else, so you would be fully limited to developers who work on passion alone. Obviously, passion cannot pay your rent, and that would drastically limit the pool of people who would be working on these games. And even if all of that stuff somehow worked, Blizzard would then have to support some type of server browser, and they'd then have to become legally responsible for what servers actually host, and that would include things like old, insecure clients. Basically, once this is real, every line of legal overhead is relevant. Every penny, needs to be counted. And, well, think about support. I mean, if these are things you can access under a World of Warcraft subscription, then there would be implications on Blizzard supporting those products. So basically, running a private server would become a whole load more difficult. So in every way, even if Blizzard said yes, I think it would make no one happy. But that doesn't mean that we're left with nothing, because we are actually left with something. Right, this sounds a bit defeatist, but it's kind of true, and that is that the current situation is probably the healthiest for private servers, let's be real. I mean, they are emulators that Blizzard cannot legally take down, right? That emulation side is actually pretty good. Everyone knows where to find the old clients, so developers who want to run fan-made projects can just go and do that. Because right now, you can just run these things in secret and experiment with whatever type of gameplay that you want. Turtle are only bringing this up because they bit Blizzard's hand, and they got caught. They obviously want to keep bringing in players.
They poked the bear.
They also obviously want to keep on bringing in, donations. Their whole donation store that's funding a big paid development team. And I think
Solheim was right.
This letter makes them look like the good guys, and, well, makes Blizzard look like the villains. I mean, come on, who would ignore an olive branch that is full of so much glazing? Now, I think this is a bit of a mistake, because even if Turtle is a great server, and by all accounts it is, I think it's overstepping by trying to be legit here. Because being legit is more likely to kill it than if they just, stay hidden in Russian servers and duck the lawsuit, which they can just keep on doing, right?
Yeah.
So I would not hold my breath for an official response from Blizzard here, because there's no real answer that isn't playing directly into Turtle's hands, which, let's be real, is probably how Turtle architected all of this. So Blizzard will sit quietly, and they will use the legal system to do whatever it can to hunt this stuff down. So ultimately, my view is that this is a PR stunt that is basically designed to get more people into Turtle and, probably to draw out more donations. I think that's probably what it is. Yeah, there you go. And if you want to know why they are sort of hunting them down in the first place, if you want to know how the RICO sort of legislation is involved, basically the mafia busting legislation, well, it's a crazy story, it's deep, it's dark, it's fun, and you can watch our video on it right over here.
There we go. We have already seen that video, so I'm not going to watch that one, but we have already seen it. I will say, by the way, there's one thing he didn't really talk about, but I guess this was just based on the letter anyway, so good video. What I want to add to this is that today, well, a few days ago, Blizzard filed in the lawsuit to basically skip a part of the US lawsuit process, and they're filing for early discovery. Now, there's been an update, order granting plaintiffs opposed ex parte application for limited early discovery to identify those defendants. So, well, they got the early discovery. Not exactly sure what that's going to mean, but I think it's basically them trying to identify that they are going after the right people, which also basically suggests that they had no idea to begin with, but hey, that's kind of interesting. Not often you see somebody filing for early discovery and actually getting it, I guess. So another update, and possibly based on that, there might be even more updates in the future, in the short future. What this also could mean when they are going for early discovery is that they are on a time crunch. They might have started this lawsuit a little bit late, and maybe Classic Plus is coming sooner than we think, and maybe they're announcing it at BlizzCon next year, and they want to start giving out teasers. They obviously want Turtle WoW to be gone when they launch Classic Plus, and they're filing for early discovery to basically rush the lawsuit, is what it seems like. Either way, once again, good video, and a good recap on the updates so far.